What if one decision in 476 AD had saved the Western Roman Empire? In reality, the weight of empire rested precariously on the shoulders of men facing immediate, brutal change and existential threat. The pivotal moment arrived when Odoacer chose federation over deposition, a choice that preserved the very structure of Western imperial authority. This act of political pragmatism ensured the survival of the Western imperial apparatus, preventing an immediate and total collapse of governance. The security of the frontiers depended entirely on stabilizing the vast and volatile Danube frontier against relentless incursions. Aurelian's Wall stood as a monumental barrier, successfully preventing the shattering migrations from overwhelming the remaining legions. This stabilized frontier meant that the legions retained their cohesion, holding the line against fragmented Germanic incursions for centuries. Simultaneously, the Senate managed to retain its function, evolving into a constitutional monarchy rather than succumbing to feudal fragmentation. The survival of the Senate meant that constitutional law remained paramount, preventing a complete descent into localized feudal power structures. This centralized legal framework created a unique constitutional monarchy, distinct from the subsequent feudal fracturing of Europe. The stability afforded by these mechanisms created a cohesive, unified imperial identity across the entire Mediterranean basin. The integrity of the system ensured that political power flowed from a recognized, legitimate source rather than arbitrary military decree. This structural resilience allowed for sustained cultural and administrative development long after the immediate military threats subsided. The Gothic War dramatically shifts focus in this timeline. Theodoric the Great becomes a powerful Roman magister militum overseeing imperial forces. Gothic integration fundamentally changes the military structure of the Western Empire. Gothic cavalry now forms the core strength of imperial defense. The Danube frontier is stabilized by Aurelian's enduring wall. This defense successfully prevents widespread Germanic migrations from shattering the legions. The survival of the Roman Senate remains intact and functional. It establishes a constitutional monarchy instead of immediate feudal fracture. Resources that would have been spent on westward conquest are instead redirected eastward. The focus shifts entirely to fortifying the Persian frontier lines. Justinian's grand reconquest never occurs in this reality. The pursuit of reclaiming the West is replaced by securing the Rhine and eastern borders. A centralized imperial healthcare system is established across the empire. This structure fundamentally alters the demographic catastrophe of the 6th century. We upload videos like this every day. Subscribe so you don't miss out. Television. The plague of Justinian encounters this centralized system. The demographic catastrophe experienced during the plague is significantly altered by imperial management. The established Senate continues to function as a true legislative body. It maintains its constitutional monarchy, avoiding the descent into feudal fragmentation. The shift in military focus creates an entirely different geopolitical landscape for the subsequent centuries. The balance of power is irrevocably changed. This altered trajectory leads to an entirely new chain of historical events unfolding across the subsequent millennia. New empires rise from this modified foundation. The consequences of this divergence ripple outward into the age of exploration. New maritime powers emerge from a unified, stable Mediterranean world. The pursuit of new lands is fueled by Roman law and a unified market. This foundation allows for an unprecedented industrial revolution starting in the 12th century. Roman patent law provides the necessary legal framework for this burgeoning industrial age. A unified Mediterranean market facilitates unprecedented economic growth and innovation. The expansion of Islam did not fragment the Roman world, but rather unified it into a colossal superstate across the Mediterranean. This unified entity immediately established a formidable, centralized authority that redefined imperial governance across the entire region. The resulting geopolitical tension spawned a protracted, centuries-long Cold War across the entire Mediterranean basin. This extended conflict meant that Roman influence was now viewed through the lens of this new, unified Islamic superstate. The weight of this new geopolitical reality forced remaining Western powers to adapt their military strategies immediately. the focus shifted from internal Roman stability to managing the increasingly volatile external frontiers of the empire. Aurelian's wall, strengthened by new centralized resources, successfully held back the relentless Germanic migrations. This stabilized Danube frontier successfully prevented the Germanic incursions from shattering the existing legions. The survival of the Roman Senate ensured it remained a functional legislative body, avoiding feudal fragmentation entirely. This structure allowed the Roman system to maintain a constitutional monarchy, resisting the collapse into feudal chaos. The shift in focus meant that military ambition was channeled away from expansion toward internal security and border fortification. The wealth that remained was reinvested into infrastructure, creating a unified economic zone across the remaining territories. This unified market fostered an early form of industrial development, sparked by established Roman patent laws and systems. The Mediterranean became a unified economic engine, facilitating unprecedented trade routes and cultural exchange across continents. The discovery of the Americas was facilitated by Roman galleys relentlessly chasing the lucrative spice trade routes. These voyages established a massive transatlantic empire governed by appointed provincial proconsuls and Roman law. The seeds of a massive industrial revolution were sown in the 12th century Lombardy region. Roman patent law provided the foundational framework for this unprecedented economic acceleration. This unified Mediterranean market facilitated the rapid exchange of goods and ideas across vast distances. The economic synergy redefined the limits of classical Roman commerce entirely. Roman galleys, driven by insatiable greed for exotic spices, ventured beyond the known boundaries of the established empire. These voyages fundamentally altered global geography. These expeditions ultimately led to the discovery of the Americas, initiating a complex and brutal transatlantic empire. New continents were integrated into the Roman sphere of influence. The newly discovered lands were not simply conquered. They were governed through a unique system of provincial proconsuls. This administrative structure managed the sprawling new territories effectively. The control exerted by these proconsuls created a vast, sprawling transatlantic empire. Local customs and Roman law blended into a complex, hybrid administrative reality. This expansive maritime reach established a powerful new geopolitical reality. The empire was defined not just by land, but by the immense naval power connecting these disparate lands. The true power of this new world order lay in its economic integration. Provincial wealth flowed back into the core, fueling further expansion of the Roman imperial machine. This unified economic structure laid the groundwork for future technological leaps. The stability provided by Roman legal structures proved surprisingly adaptive to new mercantile demands. Imagine a world where this economic engine fueled an accidental industrial revolution. The potential for mechanical innovation was unlocked by Roman administrative efficiency. The stability of this unified structure meant that political focus shifted toward internal development rather than external warfare. Resources were redirected to internal infrastructure building. The ultimate result was a unique transatlantic empire. Defined by its legal and commercial framework, it became a multipolar world where Roman concepts permeated every corner of existence. This Pax Romana, extended across continents, became the blueprint for future global governance. A single superpower managed a complex, shifting geopolitical landscape successfully. Welcome! Before we begin, hit subscribe so you don't miss our daily updates. Bell subscribe now before the next video. We have a special upload tomorrow. High voltage.